as always, we have
Hmm.
6 categories. We've got personal relevance, how well has it aged, rewatchability, story, acting, and cinematography slash general visual appeal.
Yes.
These will help us decide what the better piece of content in our unmistakable opinion is, because we are
The only
perfect and never
important
make a mistake.
opinions.
Yes, 100%. Um, Starting off with personal relevance and The Punisher, I have written. Netflix TV shows were goated at a time when we had little to no other superhero TV shows that weren't just the bog standard villain of the week model.
Mhm.
They revolutionized the genre. They moved us away from the 24 episodes. Every other episode has a little bit of main story. And they moved us to the style that we get now on Disney Plus and everywhere that does this kind of content. It's like, this is the story. It's going to take us 8 episodes to tell this story. Each episode will have a B story that adds a little bit of filler.
And it
Um,
also brought it was at the time when the MCU was just sort of getting going and we were getting used to crossover heroes. And it's like we got that mixed with the new Netflix style of superhero show.
it was already new and exciting.
Yeah, it was like best of both. Meanwhile, CW's like struggling.
Um, but on the flip side, Captain America Winter Soldier, I make no mistake of it. It is my favorite MCU movie.
You've made that very clear.
Yeah, it is the
It's
creme de la
one of
creme.
the top
It's
ones.
so good. Yeah. It came out at the perfect time when no one was even close to even considering superhero fatigue.
Mm,
But it wasn't mega popular so that it was impossible to get a ticket on opening night, but the
yeah.
cinema was full and it was exciting. And I was young enough where there was less scary things in the world.
Hmm.
And I was like, fuck yeah, superheroes, let's go. It's pure nostalgia baiting, I'm sure. But every time I rewatch it, it still holds up.
Yeah, I mean, it was at that ramp up of the MCU when
Yeah.
things. It's
It was
both
it was when
both of
them
these.
bigger sets started to get pulled together.
Yeah, and it's like it's one of those to look back on and you're like, okay, this is when the MCU was ramping up, and it's just both were such great time periods.
100%. Um, how well is it aged?
Both have aged phenomenally.
Phenomenally is literally one of the words I have written down here. John Bernthal is the Punisher.
Yeah,
He's one of them people. The second they announced that like the Netflix stuff wasn't going to be happening anymore, and hopefully they'll bring them characters into the MCU, everyone was like, "You keep Charlie Cox, you keep John Bernthal.
yeah,
They were so good, keep them." Um, but the word I've written down here might be a little bit of an overstatement, but still, for Winter Soldier, I've literally written perfectly. It's a masterpiece. And I don't mean that in the way of like when you compare two different pieces of art, like
yeah.
impressionist versus realism.
Hmm.
Two can be masterpieces while looking nothing apart.
Well, yeah,
As far as comic book movies go, it is a masterpiece.
mm,
It is so good. It tells its story. It was starting to understand that there was a lot of superhero films coming out, so it needed to differentiate slightly. So we
yeah,
got more of an espionage feel to it.
hmm,
It was so good.
yeah. It's. I mean, that has. I feel over time as like we've got more of the MCU became the same style. Everything felt like we lost a bit of that individualism we were getting from for a period. Has helped it age, and then like yeah, like you say, Punisher. We all look back on that Netflix era of Daredevil and Punisher. We kind of forget about the other ones a little bit, but like those two have stuck out so strongly that to this day we want them back. Like
100%.
just screams for how good it is.
Rewatchability.
For I could happily rewatch both. I think Winter Soldier is inherently easier to rewatch
100%.
than the
Less of a
whole
time
series.
commitment.
Yeah, and not
Um,
necessarily needing to watch much of the MCU. Some of it, but
yeah,
you wouldn't.
you definitely if you can't sit down and watch Winter Soldier for the first time ever without watching
No.
anything else. But this is about rewatchability. As people like us who've seen a lot of the MCU, you definitely don't need to watch anything to feel like you've got all the context. The context for this film is built in a little bit everywhere. So
Mm.
as long as you generally understand and remember the MCU's timeline, you'll be fine. You might have a couple of bits where you're like, oh yeah, that happened. But that other than that, you'll be fine.
Well, and it's early enough that there hadn't been a whole lot before it.
Yeah.
So like it's not like you're trying to remember everything up to Endgame for context.
At the time, it felt like there was a lot before it.
Yeah,
But
but
in the context of post
what
it,
we now know.
yeah. Whereas for Punisher, while I would rewatch it, rewatchability is one of these ones that is very internal to just us. I
Mm,
don't have time to rewatch 8 hours of a TV show that I've seen.
no, and I also feel
I
like
mean,
to fully enjoy Punisher, you also kind of need to watch Daredevil at the same time.
100%. And you've got to remember, like, we're talking about rewatchability here. This week alone, as well as spending time with our partners and our family
Mm.
and doing our job, we had to find 3 hours out of our relaxation time
Mm.
to watch episodes of the show. Yeah, we enjoy the shows. I'm not moaning about having to watch the shows, but it's
But
not like if you miss an episode, oh, we just binge 2 episodes the next time you sit down to watch it. We need to watch it on a time crunch so that we're ready for the episode each week.
mhm,
Um, in a world where that exists and we're not really slowing down, we've got a film that we have to watch this week and 2 episodes of a show.
mhm.
Going back to rewatch 8 hours of a show in my free time is a pretty substantial commitment. When I could spend that 8 hours instead watching something I haven't seen before, or that's been on my list forever,
Yeah.
or that my girlfriend wants to watch. So, because being in a relationship is
Mhm.
making decisions together about what you want to watch.
Yeah, there's a lot of time
It's
there.
it's a big commitment. Whereas if Jenna goes, "Do you fancy watching a film?" and I suggest Winter Soldier, and she's like, "Yeah, we can throw it on." I'm like, "Sweet, it's
Yeah.
2.5 hours. It's not as intense because I know it. I could probably write a decent quality, like script from memory for that film. It is by far the MCU film I've rewatched the most, and it's probably, as I've said before, right near the top of all my comic book movies in rewatching.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, it's easier
Yeah.
to rewatch film than a TV show most of the time.
Oh yeah. I agree.
Story.
Punisher
This is
story
such a
is
tight one.
Punisher story is
Such a tight one.
strong.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially because like the Punisher is just like in the comics, he's a badass. He just turns up, he kills bad guys. But they add a bit more into it. They build the story of Frank's family into this. He was a
Mhm.
soldier. He was betrayed by his unit. His family got killed for it. Now he's out there trying to right them wrongs, and he's mentally unstable and unwell. And
Mhm.
he does that. He understands he's doing bad, and he's going to go to hell for it. But he
Mhm.
doesn't give a fuck because they've done worse, and they have to be punished for it. It is so well put together and told.
Yep.
So good.
Especially for a TV show as well.
The Netflix Marvel shows gave Netflix so much credibility with me as their ability to tell good stories that they squandered on random crap.
Yeah,
They earned so much goodwill that
they
they just
s-
threw away on random shit.
they started the early days of Netflix was so strong, and then it just got so diluted. Unfortunately.
And now they're doing what all mainstream studios do, and they're making a show that everyone got bored of 4 years ago for the 6th season, even though they promised season 4 was the last season.
Yeah.
Stranger Things.
Hey, I
Um,
um,
You're part of the problem.
yeah, I'm okay with that.
And then on the flip side, you got
Winter Soldier.
Captain America Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
The return of Hydra after we thought they'd been defeated in World War
Yep.
II. The betrayal of Bucky.
Yep.
The fall of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep. Pivotal
My God.
points in the MCU.
Huge. Like, if we actually deep I know we can't use the entire MCU story,
Well, yeah.
but if we deep that how much of a turning point this brought Bucky back to Steve's attention, which
Mhm.
meant Steve went to find Bucky, found out that Bucky killed Tony's parents and didn't tell Tony.
Mhm.
That directly led to the Avengers falling apart,
Mm-hmm.
which led to Thanos winning in the battle for Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
And it set us up for that
yeah.
while still having a beautifully self-contained story.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like we said,
It's
with very limited knowledge, you
yes.
can watch Captain America Winter
Yeah.
Soldier. In
It's
fact, someone who's not even seen any other Marvel movie can sit down, watch that film with you, and not ask an annoying amount of questions and know what's going on.
yeah. It's well contained enough, yet still weaves into the bigger story. It was that period where it linked to the MCU as a whole, but still stood alone as its own like story and film, which we've lost a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. Acting,
I mean, John Bernthal is Punisher.
very, very good. I can't think of all the other actors in it. I know Karen makes a lot of cameos in it.
Yes,
And it's very good. Like we said, as
and
a
Charlie
lot of the
Cox
time
as
with
well.
these discussions, when we talk about how good the story is,
Mm,
the story is always limited by the actors. So if
yes.
we're sitting here going, this is a great story, unless it's adapted from a book that we know is a great book,
Mm,
we're like, well, the actors, we
the
don't
acting
feel like
can
the actors
carry
are
it.
dragging it down.
Yeah,
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's a superhero story.
yeah.
If you're not sit there going, it's just superheroes,
And
the story's got to be good enough and the acting's got to boost it.
realistically as well, Punisher is a superhero origin story for the most part. It's just
Very difficult to do it right.
yeah, it's just told in such a way that it doesn't feel like that. And then with the acting from like John Bernthal and then Charlie Cox showing up and different like was phenomenal for a TV show. Winter Soldier, I mean it's the MCU.
Samuel L. Jackson,
Yeah.
Sebastian Stan, Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson,
Mm,
Anthony Mackie,
mm,
Robert motherfucking Redford,
mm.
and none of
Stacked.
them miss.
I they did great performances.
All of them, although they have probably been typecast as like MCU big franchise actors now, are
Mm.
legitimately very talented actors in their own right.
Yes, they are.
Like Samuel L. Jackson made his name in like Tarantino films.
Yes.
Sebastian Stan has done a lot of good things off the back of his MCU fame.
Yes.
Chris Evans has got such a wide array of like he's done like the silly like comedy films like
Yeah.
Not Another Teen Film, but he's also done like critically acclaimed films like Knives Out.
Yep.
Scarlett Johansson is like her and Samuel L. Jackson
Mm-hmm.
constantly overtake each other as the highest grossing actors of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Mackie, he's not a gangster, his real name's Clarence. And then Robert Redford is like an OG of the acting industry.
But yeah, no, it's a stacked cast.
Yeah, and they all did just as
They
good a
did
job
great.
as anyone in
Yeah.
Punisher.
Yeah.
Which is the problem. Cinematography. I do think Punisher's probably clear on this one.
Yeah, I feel like the Netflix style of how they shot those shows stands out more than just yes, Winter Soldier was a different story, but it's still shot as an MCU film. It still had the MCU look.
The Netflix shows are some of the only shows in like the streaming era where a lot of it is shot at dark and I can still see what the fuck's going on.
Yes.
And as I don't know if it's just I get older and my eyes aren't as good that I appreciate it more, or if it's just something that genuinely wasn't a problem growing up, and now it feels like everyone wants that dark scene, and they just refuse to have any light within 6 miles, and you can't see what's happening. I really appreciate the Punisher show's ability to have these dark lit scenes, and you can actually still see clearly what the fuck is happening. And some of the choices of shots in the show are phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Really, really good. But like I said, it's an MCU film. Cinematography is not why you turn up to the cinema to watch the MCU, especially in Phase 2.
Yeah,
In
no,
Infinity
it had
War and Endgame, they tried some stuff because they were such important films that it was pretty
Yeah,
But like, we need to get a
phase
shot that looks like this.
phase 2, they'd established the MCU look. They just kept it going.
Yeah, exactly that. Right, time to tally up the points.
Yes, it is.
Personal relevance for me is, of course, Winter Soldier.
For me, I would probably lean Punisher.
Okay, Ty, how well it is aged? Winter
I,
Soldier.
I would say Punisher.
We tied it again. Rewatchability, I think, is a unanimous Winter Soldier.
Yes, I would say Winter Soldier.
Story, I'm going to give to Punisher.
Yeah, I would also give Punisher. So it's 1-1.
Acting goes to Winter Soldier, because the quality of acting, I think, is comparable, but there are more actors who all have to act at that level.
Yeah, I would
For
lean.
me,
I could lean Winter Soldier though.
okay, making it 2-1. Cinematography,
Punisher. So it's
it is
2-2.
2-all. I'm going to use my veto to allow my favorite project to get through.
Valid.
I'm not letting Winter Soldier lose out like this.